you're there. Hi, good afternoon. I promise you can have some lunch once we've done this session, so half an hour and then we can all eat. I'm super excited to be here with this panel. I think the title of the session intrigued me. I hope it intrigues you. I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves and then we'll get into it, and hopefully within the next half an hour we can work out how football can help heal motherhood, heal mothers. So team, do you want to introduce yourself? Jennie, do you want to begin?
Yes, hi, good afternoon everybody. My name is Jennie Joseph. I'm a midwife. I'm a British trained midwife. I've worked in midwifery for 45 years. I have a clinic and birthing center in the United States, and our work is in terms of supporting maternal health, making sure that mothers, babies, families thrive throughout the experience of motherhood.
Can I just also interrupt and say Jennie was named as one of Time magazine's most notable women of the year in 2022, so please can we just add that?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Morad.
Thank you. I'm Morad Farid. I'm the founder of FC Mother, former footballer as well, founder of a lab at Harvard that studies maternal science, and have been focused on motherhood for the last 10 years.
Thank you. And Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Dorrell. I'm a former football player, and I have 3 professional footballers.
Amazing, as your children. So let's begin. Morad, it's taken me a little while to get my head around this. Can you please start by telling us about FC Mother? How did it start, and what was the inspiration for it?
Sure. So, a lot of people aren't really aware, so it's important to kind of set the stage of why motherhood and pregnancy is so important from a health point of view. So the number one contributor to disease today in all of humanity is an unhealthy mother. That's more than diabetes, hypertension, cancer, or obesity. So it's the number one issue in all of public health. And whether we realize it or not, everybody in this room comes from a mother. And our health today was derived in that period when mom was pregnant, and whether she had good support or not really determined so much of your health today. And so for the last 10 years, I've been working on trying to improve maternal health. It started really philanthropically in the US with a very simple idea that we could pass policy and open free prenatal centers. Once we started opening these centers, and again, just to support pregnancy is such a complicated idea in the US. And when they started closing our centers, which by the way were free, I realized that policy wouldn't solve it, philanthropy wouldn't solve it, technology wouldn't solve it, and what led me to really understand that we needed a creative solution. We needed to engage humanity and communities, and that's where football came in. And so we've been working for the last 2 years to merge science, public health, with football and the football community and sports, so that it could translate into a new language that people could understand. So that's really what FC Mother's about.
So at a first glance, these are 2 completely separate worlds, like maternal health and football. How and why did you think, I know what I'll do, philanthropy's not worked, lobbying's not worked. Why football?
Well, it's really beautiful. I mean, at the last World Cup, if you remember the Moroccan national team, they were dancing with their mothers, and that said everything to me about how I view my mother. My mother is God to me. My mother is not even on this planet. She's God to me. And so I hang out with my mother like that. It's about joy and celebration. It's not about anything less than that. And so when I saw that on the World Cup field, and the whole world saw that, I said, this is the moment. You don't need a PhD to understand this. You don't need to explain this. It's right here. And then when you ask the top footballers, why are you the best? We asked Pelé, how are you Pelé? He said, my mother. Ask any of the footballers, my mother, my mother, my mother. And so we realized motherhood was already central to football. We just needed to bring it out.
And you made a really interesting point at the top where you said maternal health is the biggest crisis we're experiencing at the moment. What is the current state of maternal health, Jennie?
Yes. When you look at it across the diaspora, across the world, and historically, when a mother is thriving, that family, that community thrives as well. Currently, that's not the case. Mothers are suffering and unable to get the quality of care that they need. That's why we have a maternal health issue. That's why we see the maternal mortality so rife around the world. But most of the times it's because of preventable reasons. And the one thing we found and we know we can depend on is when you support a mother, whether it's through the pregnancy or afterwards, as she's childbearing or as she's raising children when she's parenting, if you support her, most of the physiological concerns are taken care of, right? So it's the emotional support, it's the social support, it's the being there, standing with her, standing in the gap. Support that makes the difference in outcomes. And so we look at maternal health across the world and we realize we have a big problem, but there are other ways to fix it than just making sure everybody gets their blood pressure checked. We're looking at health in a more continuum and in a holistic way, and then that gives us opportunity to solve the problem in that same holistic way. When mothers and families are supported, everybody wins.
And what would you say are, you've sort of touched on it there, but what are the biggest challenges for mothers today? So we were laughing
Yes.
out there. My biggest challenge this morning was I locked my baby's doggy in the car and got on a plane to come to Spain with my car keys, so the poor child has not had doggy to go to childminders today. So I'm sitting here beating myself up all morning that I'm a terrible mother because I came to work and I forgot the doggy. Now that is a minimal challenge. What are the real challenges that you actually come across every day?
The real challenges are the fact that we don't acknowledge how that affects you, what you've just described. And all of us can relate, right? We all know what it feels like, the guilt, the shame, the pain, right? The depression. All of these are continual harms and ills that affect us as mothers, as caregivers, as parents. And so what we know is that if we can find little ways, we don't have to do a massive piece of work here. Listening, asking, supporting, hearing. Sometimes the healing shows up in just being able to get your story off your chest. Right? So we have access to these kinds of ways to solve a problem, and all of us as human beings know exactly what to do. And all of us as human beings know what it feels like when it's not done. It's that simple.
Okay, so Susan, Superwoman, you played football. You decided while playing football to have 3 children. We've spoken a little bit about the challenges there. How was that for you? And at what point did you think, I'm going to have 3 kids and then I'm going to carry on with my football career?
Well, I just did it. And then I wanted to show the love that I had for football to my children. And I wanted to be a role model to them. So I did whatever it took. As all mothers, they do anything for their children. I wanted to make sure that I showed them that I could play and show them that they could develop as well and play as best as they could.
So it was just completely instinctive that you knew you had to be it for them to see it?
Yes, and my husband and I, we both wanted to give that love to them, and how much it gave to us. It gave us so much to share with the 3 kids.
And how did your club respond to that? How did the industry support you through that time?
At the time, we all worked together. I had my husband was incredible. He would look after them while I went. Actually, the doctor that delivered my 3 children, she would go, when my husband played, we would go an hour before, and we would go for running to get back into shape. And then when I was going to go play, he had the kids on the sideline, or teammates. We would all, if I was on the field, they would look after them. I had an incredible grandfather as well that was always, he would come to every game and support. So I
I don't know about you, but I just wish, I mean, you won't mind me saying, but your children are now 19, 20, and 22. Can you imagine 20 years ago if we'd seen Susan handing over the 3 babies to her husband and going on the pitch, and then coming off the pitch and him handing the 3 kids over and him going on the pitch? I mean, what an incredible role model.
Yes.
I just, hats. I think, I know there were challenges, and I know, but that instinct in you, and we talk about that maternal instinct of, I want them to have these opportunities. I want them to share in the love that you and your husband have for the game.
I wanted to give them from this sport anything they needed to be able to achieve whatever they wanted to become. When they were younger, we just gave them the tools, and we wanted to be role models for them to have that feeling that they could do anything in this world. And we didn't know they were going to be professional footballers. I lived in the Turks and Caicos Islands with my husband, and there was no football there. So I played we started a little tiny league. We had to borrow a field from Club Med, and I played on that team. And my lawyer donated land. We asked FIFA for money to have our own field. My company supported a male league, which that's how I met through my husband. And then I asked him if I could find 20 ladies on this island who's never played football before, if he could coach us to give them experience to go to an international tournament. Most of them had never been off the island. And so he coached us every day for months and months until we were able to go and play. And then we brought that power of love of football to Canada, where we decided to have 3 kids.
Sounds like the original FC mother.
Yeah.
Mo, why should the football industry care about maternal health?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, the football industry is typically concerned with, a lot of the business subjects related to merchandise, tickets, fans, etc. And, you have the largest vehicle in the world, and it can be so much more than just that. And we think it could be used to solve the biggest problems in the world. And there is nothing bigger than football. There's no religion, there's no government, there's no community in the world bigger than football. And the social infrastructure of football is so powerful. I mean, what you just talked about, is so powerful, and it can be actually used in super impactful ways. And I think why the industry should care is very simple. I mean, what health, wellness, and longevity represent is $10 trillion of an industry. What football represents is $60 billion. Which, as big as it is, that's very small for as big as it is. And so if you link healing of mothers to football, you can grow the industry by about 6 times that. And so there's an economic proposition, and also, I think, obviously, a humanitarian one.
Do you find that when you present that business case, you get a better response to
it changes. Yeah, it changes.
Because I can imagine you go in, you say, FC Mother, and it's very philosophical, and there's an immediate reaction to it. But the minute you present a business case, I'm asking,
right.
Do you find a different reaction from the football industry then?
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing in the world is the stories of mothers, to be honest.
Yes.
It's even more powerful than the economic drivers. Because what we're capturing right now in Brazil, let's say, is the stories of all the mothers of the academy players, the club players, the mothers across the community, the elder mothers, and they're all mothers of football.
Yeah.
And they've always been there. There's just the voices haven't been heard. And when we present that to the club and say, these are the voices of your community, listen to these voices, they pay attention. And I think that part of it is very fascinating because it's right there, but it's just not conscious.
So talk to me about how it works. Like Susan just gave a really good example then of 20 years ago in Turks and Caicos, and she effectively, established a community of women to play football. How does it work on a practical level? How did you two meet, for example?
Oh, we've been working together over maybe 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
I'm in maternal health, obviously. We came across each other, both of us in maternal health, trying to figure ways around, the problems. But this one is really spectacular. I think this is the most brilliant way to approach this. Everyone can relate to mother in one way or another. What drives football? What drives motherhood? Oh, oxytocin, right? How you feel. Right? It's all here. It's a hormonal thing, right? So this gives everyone an opportunity to access that, right? So just listening, for example, is so powerful, right? Be heard, be healed. Hearing stories helps everyone to understand the lived experience and be inspired, right? So now we've got an opportunity for marrying these two things, this feeling, this sense, the well-being, and the financial, but the power is in the human connection. The power is in the ability to just, in your humanity, relate to someone else, understand someone else, support someone else. Susan's whole story is about support from start to finish. And look what happened.
Yeah, amazing, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, to that exact point, when you look at all health and well-being problems, 80% are social. It's a social determinant of health. It's not your doctor, it's not your clinic. That's only 20%. And so if 80% of all of our well-being is social, then it's about social support networks. So if football can be the catalyst for social support networks around mothers, around new families, and we assign tasks, jobs, contributions, social contributions to the networks around mothers. So family and friends, fans, the community all have a role to play.
Susan's granddad.
Exactly your story. And that's exactly the point. It's just using that kind of support network in a systemized way.
So when you approach clubs or you approach the football industry, what is your offering? What are you saying that they need to be doing?
We have a way to prove your club can heal your community, and it costs you nothing. And we measure everything in life years. And do you want to promote health in your community? And it's very interesting because it's like, it's either a commercial conversation or a sponsorship one or a foundation one. And we're like, it's none of that. We're going to transcend that. It's a new category. We're saying there's a way for sports clubs to heal humans. We're saying that a football club is actually a public health vehicle. We've seen it in mental health in football, right? We've seen it, there was just a panel on mental health, right? We've seen it on social issues in football. So it's already happening. We just have a way to accelerate that.
And
Healing
Susan,
sports.
you mentioned earlier that you kind of did it naturally because you said about your teammates and your children would be on the bench when you'd be on the pitch and your teammates would take on that role of probably FC mother sort of as it now is. Like, tell us about that time for you.
Yes. They were incredible. I've had some really good support. My doctor as well that delivered my 3 kids, she was always there for support. I think now, I don't think people realize the strength that mothers have. Like now I'm living in Mexico because my 3 kids are playing professional there.
So you've moved the whole family to Mexico. So you came to London with the kids when they moved for football?
My 3 kids decided they were going to be footballers. And somehow my husband and I thought that, well, we were going to do anything possible to support their dreams. So we sold my company. My husband was a big technical director. He gave up that. We sold our house and we moved to London. We got them in an academy and we thought that that was the best way to support them. And we've always been there for them to know that we're supporting. But at the time, in England, it was just the 5 of us. So I think our sports in football, there's a lot of ups and downs, so which people don't realize. It's very demanding. They have a really hectic schedule. I'm always telling my kids all the time, I know you know how to do everything, but I'm there to help you. Like cooking takes a long time and you have to eat well. Or even that I've learned, I was telling you that since I moved in England as well, but in Mexico, a lot of the players don't have their parents around, but I see that they call them every day. I see a lot of them, now I'm being called by mom many times, and they need to come over for a home-cooked meal or just a hug or just, they all have their own apartments, but they choose to come over to mine, so we're all together for that motherly love and support. Even my daughter, I was telling these guys, I'm going to a wedding. She played with my daughter at Arsenal, and she's going to get married in Germany. And first, like, I'm going to, because she says I'm her second mother. But I think that support they really need. But I see it from all the players. That unconditional love, you can't buy that.
And you obviously got it from individuals and teammates and family, but did you get it from the clubs? Did they understand your needs as a mother?
Not so much. Our clubs was just provided, we sort of had to do all the hard work. So probably from my family, they were always there for me and whatever I wanted to do, and they always supported for me to play. Even when I was younger, it wasn't so big to play football, but I loved it. My mom was always afraid I was going to get hurt, like, or scratch or scars, but they were always there to support me, and I think that I wanted to give that as well to them, as my husband had the same view. He didn't have so much support. He gave all the support. He had a younger brother, and he supported him to be able to play and move. And he was a brilliant player. He played 17 years, but I think even if he had more support, he feels he could do even more.
And is that something that FC Mother are trying to educate clubs in, or do you educate the club so you leave a legacy piece and come out, or so it's self-sustainable almost, or are you sort of hoping that you will just stay in that community hub all the time?
No, it's very much about establishing a new league where we're there season to season, and it's really planting seeds within the community and the club. And once you form these social connections, they're there. And so, there's 2 billion mothers in the world. And right now, they're not talking to the 140 million pregnant women. And that's where the wisdom is. So it's this intergenerational support network of mothers to mothers. And we said it's social, right? So you have a 3 a.m. Fear or problem, I'm suffering, I'm afraid, I'm alone, whatever it is, who do you talk to about that? And so it's the power of community, truly. And that's I think, once you connect it, it's always there.
And Jennie, you came from outside of the football industry.
Yes.
How have you found it? Tell me everything.
I've spent a long time not being in the football, and it's really interesting because I grew up in England, you might be able to tell, and I've had peripheral sports around me. But what I think is really important here is that what I do in terms of midwifery, in terms of taking care of mothers and families and childbearing, is it's the same thing. Like, there's that whole thing that shows up for the hormonal, the excitement, the anticipation, the fear, but the community of football, sports, fans, and clubs is the same as through motherhood. It's family. So I don't know the first thing about who's who in soccer and why, but I know that there's love, I know there's excitement, I know there's joy, I know there's pain, and I can relate to that. And I think all of us have that in common. However we show up here in this space, what we bring is the same humanness that is needed for all of it.
And also I think what's come across is the role model thing. Like you've just said, there's 2 billion mothers and there's however many pregnant women. So it's the role models of role modeling from those that have been through it, and you are the ultimate role model in that world. And you spoke very strongly about sort of the importance of you being a role model for your children. So is that the premise of FC Mother?
Yeah, I mean, it's this continuum, right? It's everywhere you look, there's a role model, there's a support resource, there's wisdom. Inspiration, there's courage, there's partnership, there's friendship. And all of that is what a community does inherently. right? But right now, I mean, what you find is so many people are going through this journey alone, which is shocking, and not a lot of people know about it, and I didn't know about it. But once you start to look at how people are actually, you know, when you look at pregnant women right now in the U.S., when you look at them really around the world, it has gone from a community and family life event to an individual event.
Yeah, isolated.
Isolated, lonely, and so the whole point is surrounding mom with the community and all the tools, support services, and resources.
And what's the reception been like from football clubs? I
It
think
was
you're
slow.
working with, is it 5 now? Is it 5 clubs? Yeah.
It was slow. It was like, what do you mean and why and all that, where, when? But what's been fascinating is once we found the right, I would call it ingredient, which was the stories.
Yeah.
And we made it very clear how football can actually contribute millions of stories. And what happens with stories is they become wisdom. And wisdom heals mothers. So once we kind of ran it through our lab and said, the power of these stories is they generate life years. And we're sitting next to someone who is the largest life year generator in the United States. She generates 10 life years per pregnancy, which is the largest in the United States. Name me a Nobel doctor who does that. There isn't one. It's her.
Wow.
It's her. And that's the magnitude of her work over 3 decades. It's the largest healing body of work in the United States. Wow. That's Jennie. And if you think about what that means, everybody's running around the world trying to take stem cells and live longer and do all this crazy stuff. Stop. I mean, keep going. That's cool.
Right.
That's great. I'll do that too. Great. But there's something even bigger. You know, McKinsey will tell you you could generate 6 life years if you take better care of your health. Well, Jennie generates 10.
Wow.
Okay, so it's the largest healer in the world, largest healing impact in the world, and we already know how to do it. So let's work with football to scale that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. One for all of you. How can men in the industry be better allies? How can they be more active in supporting women with maternal health? Susan, do you want to go first? Because I think you had quite a lot of male allies. It sounds like your granddad, your husband, your coach, I don't know.
Yes.
You know,
Let you.
I would say when we look at how we personally, just personalize this for a quick second. Think about your mother figure, right? Or people in your lives who are mothering or about to mother. And think about how you feel about them and what your love could provide for them. And it could just be as simple as a listening ear. But that is where the change happens. And so look at it from this very easy, straightforward, non-complicated. You don't have to be expert to listen and love. Every one of us relates to a mother one way or another. So for males, there's the relationship to however you relate to motherhood. Go there and then just wonder, if you're not already, is there anything extra I could do? And that's it.
Mo?
Yeah, I think from, you know, the spiritual, emotional realm to the practical, like everyone's looking for impact. And everyone's running around the world trying to solve climate, trying to solve like all of these issues. And that's great. We have one you can actually address. You know, we can actually solve healthier pregnancy. 1% of the population today is pregnant. That's it. It's not a big number. It's not a high cost. There's no new invention needed. You know, it's very practical. And so that's the one kind of thing I try to focus people on is, you know, you look at the magnitude of the problem and the solution is knowable. Name me another thing in the world like that. You know?
Yeah, I think that they just, even mothers, even if they have a little bit of support, is wonders what they can do to their children for them to thrive. So any support, and it doesn't have to, like you said, it doesn't have to be huge, but some support, like for me, even working with the teammates for us to make it okay for us to bring them so we could play, or You know, it's just little things, but it makes huge difference. And then, like my kids now, I never knew that for them to see me play, how much it gave them. So
Absolutely. I don't know if you can name the clubs you work with, but is there a club that is, you know, you've obviously met with lots of clubs over the years, you've been working together. Is there a club or a good example of a football entity doing maternal health well?
Oh, great point.
Well,
Please, you would know.
My daughter's club, Tigres in Mexico, I've seen them do outstanding. They have a couple on the team, and she just had twins. So right now they're 1 year old, but they've been fully supportive. They're allowed to bring them to training. When they travel, they bring a nanny as well, because both of them train. They both play. They are, and all the teammates, I see them, like my daughter, it's given her a next hope instead of, you know, doing in the past, like us females, a lot of us, when we had careers, we felt like we had to do our full career, and then maybe when we got stable, we could try and have kids. And it's given my daughter, who's really, since she wants kids, hope that she's able, and she sees the mother had the twins, and she's back playing strong on one of the top teams in Mexico. Yeah. But the whole team puts in the effort to help her, and it's made a huge difference.
But it's just normalising. I mean, that's
normalising
it.
Exactly.
Like we work with Emma Hayes, and when she took the US job, one of the key things was, how am I going to look after her son? Because obviously you're moving country. And they said, but we have nannies, we have on-site nannies. So any female who plays for the US, there are nannies on site. So that when they go on camp, it's unbelievable to us in the UK that this is just laid on, but it's so normal over there. Of course you can have a child and come back. It's what you do. Why would you wait till you're 35, 38, you know, whatever. Sorry, Mo. Any examples of anyone doing it well?
No, it's so interesting. It's like the most obvious things are so simple, and they're so valuable. Yeah. And they're so easy to repeat and replicate. And I think what you're seeing is the culture of football moves very fast on stuff like this. And we're seeing that right now in Brazil, where, you know, in Santos, it's, you know, one of the clubs we're working with. It's so fascinating. I mean, they open up their stadium for mothers once a month. Wow. And you wouldn't even know it. But it's just a mother-to-mother, mother-led community support group. Amazing. And so it's like there's a lot of stuff at the grassroots level that is just very organic happening within clubs, because clubs are communities. But I think this point of there's so many simple things that can just be provided and systemized.
Yeah. Jennie, anyone that you've come across who's doing it super well?
We're on our way.
Yeah?
Yeah. We're just getting rolling, and so we'll see how it turns out. But I think the hardest part is for folk to just bring it down a notch. Just calm down and let's just think this through. Yeah. What works for you and your local? What works for your specific club, your specific people? And they'll tell you. Yeah. Our communities are our best resource. They will tell you. Yeah. They know what they need.
Like Mo said, it's the simple things, isn't it? It doesn't have to be
simple.
A big... Right, I promised you lunch at 2 o'clock. You can definitely have lunch. A massive thank you, Susan, Mo, Jennie. You've been incredible. I'm a huge fan of FC Mother already. I think you should do some shirts and some scarves. And we're all on board. Many, many thanks. Enjoy lunch, everybody.
Thank you.
Well done, team.